So, hi everyone, this is Dezi Koster from Real Income, and we're in the bedroom
Yes, we are.
with Real Income. And today I've got one of my absolute most favorite and dear friends, the gorgeous and wonderful Miss Adrienne Alexander. And Adrienne has just completed her first book,
Yes.
The More Love Club, which is fabulous. We're going to be actually attending a wonderful launch for Adrienne at the end of this month. So I thought I would invite her here to just chat about the book and her experience and what it's like to fulfill a dream of writing a book and any other wonderful secrets she wants to share with us. So first of all, Adrienne, why don't you share a little bit about yourself and what you do, and that would be great. We'll start with that.
I was raised as an actress. My mother was a singer, and my dad was a dramaturge and a well-known director. So I was always raised in the theater. It never occurred to me that I would be a writer. I kind of stumbled onto therapy because I was always interested in what motivated people, and found myself on April 20th, after having been married, 3 children, and divorced. I'm a recovering alcoholic, went through a number of events in my life, and as a new divorcee, 5 years after the divorce was finalized, I met on April 20th a really interesting person who, through a series of events, coinciding events, coincidences, began to speak to me about the ability to transcend pain, suffering, the normal things, I guess, that we all humans go through in life. And my life changed on that day. I had been meditating, which was something I never thought I would do either. And everything started to change. And I met this really curious stranger. So I started taking notes, writing down what was going on, sort of a diary. And by the time I had compiled a year of what was going on with me since the time I'd started meditating, I realized I had a book.
Wow, awesome. How cool is that?
Yeah.
One thing I'd like to mention is that Adrienne works as a life coach, also an acting coach.
Yeah.
And what else do you do? The life coaching, acting coaching?
Well, right now I'm saying that I'm a life coach, which I am. I host in my home every week. I host on Tuesdays a support group called the More Love Club Support Group. And what we do there, I'm a therapeutic, psychic, intuitive coach. What I do is I read people. That's what it's called. I tend to get understandings about people, and it helps me to, this knowing that I sometimes have helps me to help people go beyond their mind. I teach the practices of going beyond the mind, the lie of, the fear of, the mind, to possibility and opportunity, to see life that way.
Fantastic. Yeah. So it's kind of like the book has actually come out to be real life as well.
Well, yeah, I'm calling the book, I'm calling it a fictionalized memoir. I've changed a number of characters. I've changed a number of names. I think there's only 2 people in this book who are actually named by their name. They're pretty incidental. But most everybody has been changed. A lot of characters were joined together. But, I found in this journey I'm not a writer. I did not see myself as a writer. I did not know myself as a writer. But I did find as I was creating the book that good writers write what they know. And so I wrote what I know. This book is a love story, but it's set against the backdrop of incest and molestation. And the heroine, in order to have the love of her life, must transcend her past, her history. So in the book, you get to watch her do just that and see how that takes place.
Very cool. So when you were doing this book, because you mentioned that you didn't feel like you were a writer, but obviously you've written this amazing book, and I have to tell you guys, this book is fabulous. I even had Adrienne read some of it to me, and it's one of those books that I guarantee you won't be able to put down. But writing it, were there any challenges as you were writing the material, writing the content?
Well, yes. The first challenge was I was not a writer. That was very challenging. I grew up in a theatrical family, so I knew acting, I knew creation, but I did not know the discipline of writing. I'd written a number of thesis types of papers, very dry, literal things, but beyond a couple of tries at maybe a play here and there, nothing like this.
Yeah.
So that was my first challenge. I wrote and rewrote and wrote and rewrote and took it to people, and then I finally found a writer's workshop, and that was the beginning of the book, really, in reality.
Fantastic. And so, on your way to making a dream happen, sometimes we have obstacles, but again, we start looking around ourselves at, what tools, what resources, people, things that can help us. And like you said, you use that as a resource, and that just help you to actually sit down and write.
Yeah. I'll say this writer's workshop, which I'd like to say here, Adele Slaughter, who happened to be the life partner of my meditation initiator, Jeff Kober, both amazing human beings. Adele was paramount in getting me to the place where what I was writing was extremely raw and very honest. She is a published poet and was really gifted at bringing me to a very, very truthful place with the material. And it was tough. There was a lot of catharsis in it, but the writing benefited a great deal.
One of the things, about doing the In the Bedroom with Real Income is also for us to be able to share our hearts. One of the things I mentioned was that, business tends to be can be very dry. And this is for us to kind of share in that business is about a heart. Business is about passion. And without that, there is no such thing. And business really becomes, it's part of our life. And at the same time, there's really no difference between our daily life, our business life. It can all roll into one thing and just become life as such.
Oh, yeah. The book for me has that aspect to it. I would say that the book is certainly an offering, but in order to get the message out there, and the message is, for me, I can say that I learned through a number of mentors, several of whom are in the book, how to transmute, how to uncover and recover from the history of my childhood. And in writing the book, my goal was to not only let others know that they are not alone, but to give some bit of a guide, or maybe just reach out a hand and say, you too can do this. You're in a world where there are others who have been through this, and there is a way to completely recover from anything that life has thrown at you. And in order to get that message out, then I have to be a little more savvy about the business side of it, so that people know that the book is here, people are interested in it, and read it, because my hope is that it will be of some benefit, it will be of some use.
Oh, I'm sure it would be a great benefit. And that really is, to me, that is what life is ultimately about. It's how we use our own experiences to be of service to other people, and anything that we've gleaned to be able to pass it on, whether it's to our children who are the leaders of our tomorrow, or people that are up and coming, whether it's in business or life or in community or whatever else it is. Because like you said, when we've walked through certain life experiences, whatever it is, whether it's incest or sexual abuse or physical abuse or whatever the experience is, when we've been successful in overcoming it, we create a bridge so that those people that have had the experience but they don't know how to overcome it, if they can go, oh, this is how I get across the bridge to where I want to be and live the life that I want to be living.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I would say that one of the most difficult areas for me about the book was in the naming of names, which was not my purpose. I discovered toward the end of my relationship with writing the book that I wanted to change a number of the names because my interest is in speaking the truth about the human heart, which has great ability to heal and transform and transmute all things, including sexual abuse, including physical abuse, including any kind of event in life that is not 100% light.
Yeah, I know. I totally agree. I also do life coaching and different types of coaching as well, and have worked with sexually and physically abused kids and adults, and it's absolutely true. Even in the most traumatic experiences that we have, it doesn't touch the soul or the spirit of the human being. And when we're able to nurture what has happened and move the person away from the experience. I mean, the experience is always in us, but to be able to realize that that is not who and what we truly are, then the person comes back to the wholeness of who they are and live amazing lives.
I would say, too, that the spirit, the soul, is untouchable. I'm sure there's impact to it, but I would go even further. In my experience, in the practice that I am so honored to teach to others, to practice with others, that there is the possibility for the history of, for that to actually become so detached from the person that it is story. It's no longer self.
Absolutely. And even science, quantum physics has shown that the epigenetics, when you can change something in your life, when you have that aha moment or that breakthrough, that not only does it change for you, but it actually changes for the generations in the past and generations in the future, which is, that to me is just, I mean, it's so exciting and so delicious because it just again is a proof of how amazing we are on that quantum mechanical level. And in the level of the unified field, we're able to just, like you said, the story disappears, the illusion disappears, and all we're left with is the self.
Right.
Yeah.
The basis of what I teach, which starts with the very personal entity, is that in our lives we come across any number of things which may trigger something, trigger a memory, trigger a thought. The thought then attaches to a feeling. The feeling downloads a lot of chemistry into the body, and all the feelings, all the emotional landscape then become what we think of as reality.
Yeah.
Now, if you can locate the trigger, you actually then can locate the download, you can locate the emotion, you can change any and all of these things.
Yeah.
Once you've done that, the possibility of living beyond fear, living with less and less fear, opens you up to the opportunity of creation, manifestation, and you become a particular kind of consciousness that is then aligned with other consciousness, and you are, in fact, impacting the world.
Yeah, and it's that responding to the needs of the moment with the fullness of your being, which is beautiful. So at any time, you're just in that flow of life, showing up, just like you said, interacting with whatever's going on around you, and it's absolutely perfect for that moment. Very, very cool.
Yeah.
Anything else from the book that really stood out for you, whether it was as you were writing or even at the end, looking back into the process? Was there anything else that kind of stood out for you, or an aha moment that you did not have when you first started doing this?
Well, the book has a number of pieces to it. The main character, Emma, is a sober alcoholic. She's estranged from her children. She's a divorcee. She's desperately looking for a man because she wants to fill what she thinks is not WHOLE, what she thinks is HOLE. So she's desperately looking to snag a man to make her whole. And at the same time, she has committed herself to writing what was a diary that she kept as a child and as a young woman concerning her childhood. So for me, it was really interesting to approach the actual diaries of and write them in real time, because what I came to very clearly understand was that what happens with most of us is that our history is so defined by us, is so triggered in our lives, that our history comes up and we are no longer present. We're not in the now. So what I chose to do in the book was to write the pieces of incest, the pieces of the molestation, in the present tense, because for our main character, they were very present. And they were actually influencing her now. She was not able to have this amazing life that was in front of her because the history seemed like what was actually taking place, when in fact she had met a lovely man who had a lot of very exciting, fascinating ideas for her, and a beautiful life was opening up to her, but it was very difficult for her to see it. So I think that's true of all of us, and I think it's something that is completely able to be remedied.
So the way the book's written is there's this beautiful overlay of you get to see the story, you get to see how the character is enmeshed in her story, but at the same time there's that, that bridge that's being built that ultimately is going to take her out of the story to kind of discover who she is.
Yes, she is allowed to come out of the history of into her full real life, which in actuality is joyful.
Yes. Yeah.
Unbeknownst to her, until she's able to come out of her past and see that what's in front of her, which had been perhaps a child that she felt she didn't connect with, he was actually there. She actually did connect with him, but she couldn't see it because she had a belief that this relationship wasn't quite right. When she was able to understand that was her fear of not really taking place, suddenly she had a lovely relationship with her son. Any number of the journey for this woman was on all planes of action. It was physical. It's physical, emotional, spiritual, metaphysical, whatever you want. And there are a number of lessons in the book that are extremely usable.
Yeah. And that's the thing, I think, for everybody reading this book, you be able to relate to your own life or the lives of people that you know, because we all know people that have gone through similar experiences on some level. So it's almost like archetypical in some ways of how we're living a life, and also how when we stop and step outside of our own story, because we all have story. I've had story, you've had story. We've all had those experiences. But again, when we're able to step aside, like you said, that joy that peace, that equilibrium, that connection with everything around us. It's always been there. It's just that it's almost like we wake up.
Yes.
It's almost like we've been asleep.
Yes.
And now we're awake, and we get to have that experience.
And thank you for saying that, because one of the things that I do want to say about the book is that regardless of if you've had any kind of sexual abuse, this is not just about that.
Yes.
This is about anyone who's lived, because anyone who's lived has had some kind of pain, some eventuality that was hurtful. So this is literally about, I guess if you can speak, one of the worst case scenarios that someone might go through, and the greatest change, the greatest victory. This is a story about going from victim to victory.
Beautiful, beautiful. And, in life, a lot of people think when they fall down or make mistakes or have failures in their life, they think that's all there is. But really, success is about having those times when we do fall down, when we do graze our knee, when we do bang our head, whatever that is, but we get back up again. And we continue getting up, and we grow and we evolve till we get to a place where, we've run the race of life, and we've gone through the finish line of life, and like you said, we get to be victorious, because that's the nature of the human spirit. It is to strive against all odds, to kind of do whatever it takes, and it's very cool, very, very cool.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I like to say that the best revenge is joy.
I couldn't agree with you more. I couldn't agree with you more, because that's the thing. We realize that the story and all the pain, because like you said, I don't know any human being on the planet that is unscathed with something. We've all had the experience of life.
Yeah.
And that's what this book highlights, is that everybody has the life experience. It's what you choose to do with it. And that's the key thing.
Yeah.
We can have some tough life experiences and then go, well, life's tough, that's it. I'm going to stay being that victim. Or life's tough, but you know what? I'm going to look for the good in things. I'm going to see what else is out there.
Right.
Be curious. What are the possibilities?
My experience has been that it's actually the absence of a thought away.
Yes.
Yeah? Yeah. It's all the thinking that goes on in our minds, and which I feel is trainable, or at least seeable. Once we know it's actually the mind that is speaking these things, which are then downloading the feelings that we call life, if we know the mind is doing this, we can actually have the choice to look at something else. If we know that the mind is looking at what's painful and what we call shame, what we call guilt, which I'm not sure actually exists, but it's bonded to a feeling. When we know that the mind has been trained to do that, and culturally we're trained to look at very painful things. You turn on the news and it's always, be afraid. It's something horrible's happened today. Be very afraid. So, we're kind of trained to look that way, to look at the dark. And it's there's a practice of looking at the light. This is not to say that we're denying that anything has happened. It's just there are choices in how you choose choices in looking at what's taken place with you. And I am a proponent, I am a big supporter of one who can see life as filled with lessons as opposed to tragedy.
Yes, beautiful. Very, very, very cool.
Anytime that you are challenged by something, what you are then capable of doing is building a muscular structure to find something new for yourself, to create something new for yourself. You're just building up a muscular structure to know what it is. I had a client who actually said to me one day, which was just brilliant. She said, I have a very long list of things I don't like. And it's occurred to me that I want to make a list of what I do like.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the point.
And I think that's the other thing that's great is a lot of people, and again, I find with clients and just with different people over time, there is this notion that when something bad happens or we get stuck, that's all there is. Instead of realizing that that's just the thinking, and when that limiting way of thinking or our model of the world gets dissolved, then there's so much possibility out there. And when we do focus, one of the things I always say to my clients is focus on the outcome you want. Because it's very easy to focus. What I find a lot of people do is they focus, like you said, on the negative.
Yes.
You know, my bum's too big, or I don't like the way I look, or my job is hopeless, or I'll never get this, my family is this, I'm this, people are that. And so that, of course, that language itself keeps people stuck.
Yes.
And so what they're focusing on is the lack or the thing they don't like, as opposed to looking at, well, what else is out there?
Right.
What if we focused on, like you said, what I do want, the things that I haven't even had yet? What would life be like? And like you mentioned, you know, what we think, it in turn has an effect on how we feel, and of course on behavior, you know, what we actually do. So if we're thinking in a certain way, we will have certain results and certain outcomes. But if we think in a completely different way, we can have, you know, something exactly the polar opposite. And like you said, if you're stuck in thoughts that are more negative or what you don't want, then generally your results are not going to be so positive.
Right. Well, one of the things that I don't know that people, I'm certain a number of people recognize this, but a lot of people don't know that thoughts are energy.
Yes.
They are either of a positive nature or a not so positive nature. So, and in fact, thoughts, because they are energy, generate an attraction which pulls more of the same thought to you, which then creates a bit of a whirlwind, which can then create an actual planet of thought. So now you've got a gravitational pull going on, and if the thought is of a positive nature, you're going to have that coming.
Yeah, a very profound effect.
It's going to create its own pull.
It's kind of like you become a magnet.
Right.
For that really positive outcome.
And what happens oftentimes, because you're talking about getting stuck, if you're stuck is not stuck.
No.
Stuck can actually be when you say, all right, I'm stuck. Give me the desire. Now, people don't always know this either. If you ask, you just ask.
Exactly.
Give me the desire. If you don't have the desire, because oftentimes when you're stuck, you get depressed, you get low, right? So you say, give me the desire to be unstuck.
Yes.
Just give me that. Just
something.
Help me out here.
Yeah.
I'm stuck. And maybe I don't want to be unstuck, or maybe I do, but
And often we find, and I'm sure you probably have in the book, it is not until we're in that deepest, darkest place that really, as the hero of our life, of who we are, it's not till we're at that place that we become the most resourceful. Either we connect with the divine around us, or we connect with the inner resources within ourselves, whether it's the courage, the compassion, whatever it is, and or reach out, because I think a lot of people aren't so, people are really good at giving, or I find, giving, but as far as receiving and asking for what we want, is that something that you find, or?
Oh, I think receiving is a very big issue.
Yeah.
A very big issue. I think people have a lot of difficulty with receiving. I think it's one of the things that I deal with most. And that has to do with trust. It has to do with self-worth. It has to do with the idea of whether or not you're, worthy, valuable enough to be given something. So even in that, it would be a question of asking for the ability to receive.
Yeah.
Just asking for that. In the asking is the receiving. There is no difference between the two. So if you can ask, you're there. You've not just begun, you have completed a circuit. You've completed a cycle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And any other wonderful tidbits or anecdotes from the book that you'd love to share with us?
Well, April 20th is the book launch and the signing event. And we'll have mugs, we'll have books. We may have some other little surprises. I know we're going to have yummy snacks and whatever. We're going to be at the Crystal Matrix at 3 o'clock on April 20th, which is, I believe, 3215 Glendale in Atwater. But please check the website for details, www.themoreloveclub.com. And buy the book. It's going to go live on the 20th as well. You'll be able to go on the website and get it in ebook form. You'll be able to get it in paperback form. There's a challenge at the end of the book. So it's a novel, and at the end, I ask what would you do? Because the book is really about a moment in time when someone came up to me and handed me a sign that said "More Love" on it, and told me to wear it for 5 days and watch for the miracles. And in order to do that, I had to go way beyond my mind. I had to go beyond embarrassment. I had to go beyond whether or not people were whispering about me. I had to go beyond what, my coworkers were thinking. I was showing up with this cardboard sign, hand lettering an old rope, and wear it 5 days. And they would say, "What are you doing?" And I'd say, "Well, could I tell them I'm watching for miracles? Would I look foolish?" Right? So I went beyond my mind, and there were miracles. So my challenge to you is to read the book and make yourself a sign and see what happens.
Now that's definitely up close and personal, and going beyond your comfort zone. That is absolutely fabulous.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Adrienne,
Thank you.
for coming to do this interview. Just absolutely brilliant. Really loved it. And I'm sure all of you guys have just loved it. And like she said, this really is, it is the most fabulous book. And I guarantee you will read it, you won't be able to put it down, and you will really treasure it and the impact that will have on your life. So thank you so much. And we look forward to seeing you again when we have our next interview on In the Bedroom with Real Income. See you next time. Bye.